Good morning, and the theme for our reflection this morning is cross and the crossroads. Cross and the crossroads. The verse for our meditation is from First Corinthians chapter 1, verse 18. First Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 18. For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. When we hear about the message of the cross, we tend to think and imagine so many things in our life. Now, in our times, cross has become a symbol of power and a symbol of holiness, and of course, a religious symbol. But when this particular verse was written by Paul to the church at Corinth, it was not so. People had to reorient themselves about their own understanding of cross. Because to the letter to the Galatians, Paul very clearly says it was considered those whoever hung on the wood was assumed as cursed ones. So it was the nature of those time, and at that particular people were thinking that cross was a symbol of shame and punishment, and also there is no glory in the cross. But this thought process was challenged and changed after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So the disciples of Jesus Christ and Paul as an apostle had to reorient the followers of Christ and of course the early church to have a clear understanding about this cross and to tell them that cross is no more a symbol of shame and punishment. Rather, it has become a symbol of glory and power. Why the need to share this message was felt in those days? Because when these people go on proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ, people of that Greco-Roman context began to question them. How do you say a person who was crucified on the cross will save you? And the early Christian communities were challenged by this question. And they had to reorient the understanding of the Christian community. Through that only they can challenge the minds and the question that comes from the people who do not believe in Jesus Christ as the Messiah. So now Paul says, and all the other apostles say to them that now the cross has become a symbol of power. Jesus has made a huge challenge and change in the life and meaning of the cross. So they thought the early Christian communities were foolish people to follow a person who was crucified as a helpless one on the cross. But in return, the early Christian communities says that we are not worshipping the person who is still on the cross, but we are worshipping the God, a crucified God who is not still on the cross, but who risen from the cross. And now the cross is an empty cross. It is not the cross that we see Jesus nailed through that cross and we see him still nailed. But we are not seeing that kind of cross, but we are seeing the cross which is empty. Like the tomb which was empty, now the cross is also empty because Christ is no more nailed on the cross. So this reversal process or reversal thought process brought the meaning of gospel to the people of their own times. That's the reason Paul says here, the word of the cross or the message of the cross is folly to those who are perishing. I have titled this reflection as Cross and Crossroads. We have understood the meaning of cross, and now we have to realize that our life is at crossroads. There are two ways before us, and now we are in a position to choose what is the way we are going to take. And in this verse, these two ways are mentioned as one is the way of those who are perishing, and then the other one is the way of those who are being saved. And both these words and terms are mentioned in the continuous tense. Who are perishing and who are being saved. So as we are standing at the crossroads, what is the way we are going to choose? Whether are we ready to choose the way of being saved, or we are still in the way of being, we are still perishing. If that is the case, cross gives us a hope. Cross gives us a message where we have to go. So let us all commit our ways, the presence of God. And let's understand the meaning of the cross in which Jesus was crucified and risen from that. So our focus is not on the crucifixion, but the gospel of Jesus Christ begins with resurrection. So with the hope of resurrection, we see death. From the perspective of resurrection, we see the crucifixion. And that is the reason cross has become the message of hope and glory for those who chooses the way of being saved. If we understand, if we choose this way and commit our ways, God will be with us to guide us and to give us all the blessings through this cross. May God help us in this day to choose the glory of cross rather than to rely upon just the shame and punishment of the cross. God be with us and guide us throughout this day. Amen.